Hello everyone, today we're going to be learning about all there is to know about 1D arrays. So in this video we're going to be learning about the following, and as you can see this is a list of things that we're going to be learning about, right? That's a nice segue to our next slide. So a general intro to arrays is that arrays are used to store lists of information, and this information has to remain constant in the data type, meaning you can only really store one type of data type in an array unless you're creating an object array, but that's a video for another day. So when you're creating a array, you can only really store strings, right? So for the array, for this array, we're trying to store a shopping list, right? We need to buy the following. This is a array of strings, right? Basically lists, right? For our junior year grades, this is an array of doubles, right? Data type, if you don't remember, they're ints, doubles, characters, floats, stuff like that, right? So our junior year grades is an array, and it's an array of doubles. Or the presidents of the United States, their names would be stored in a string array, right? So that's basically what arrays are, just lists of information. So when you instantiate an array, instantiating an array means basically creating one. When you're creating one, you have to say the data type, right? So as you over here, the junior year grades, you'd have to write double instead of string. But since we're doing an array of shopping items, we're gonna call it string, right? So we're gonna have string, and then we have to use the name of the array we want to call. We want to name it, right? So if we want to name this array shopping list, we're going to do string shopping list bracket is equal to new, then the data type, so this data type, so this comes to there, equals new string, and then the amount of items you want to store inside the array. So since we have 4 different items you want to store in the array, we're going to write 4. String shopping list is equal to new string, right? This bracket can go there, but I prefer to put it there. So here's the thing, arrays, if you're having multiple lists of information and you want to access one specific list, one specific piece of information, you're going to have to use what is called an index. An index is where the information is stored, where an item in an array is stored, right? Kale is stored in the index of 0 for the array. Carrots is going to be stored in 1, celery is going to be stored in 2, broccoli is going to be stored in 3. The first index always begins with 0. So remember, kale goes to 0. Kale does not go to 1, right? So when we want to declare this, when we want to assign the 0th index a value, all we have to do is shopping list bracket 0 is equal to kale, right? So this is going to be stored in the value that can be stored in the first index which is the 0th index, right? So shopping list 1 is going to have carrots, right? That's going to be stored here. Shopping list 2 for celery is going to be stored here. Index of shopping list 3 is going to be stored in here for broccoli, right? We're going to have all this information inside there. Now you can do that, or you could do this. These two are doing the same exact thing, right? So when you have string shopping list bracket is equal to kale, carrots, celery, broccoli, you can also do that, and the compiler is going to know that kale is at 0, carrots at 1, celery's at 2, and broccoli's at 3. Both work, just this is a bit more convenient than this one, but this one is better for beginners if you want to learn what to do when you're instantiating an array. So traversing through an array is basically accessing the values inside of an array. So when we let's create an array, right? String shopping list is equal to kale, carrot, celery, and broccoli. We have created our array. So if you're not adept at for loops, then you should probably learn how to do those before you watch this video. But if you do, you're in the right place, right? So we have a for loop, right? And the for loop begins at 0. And since indexes begin at 0, we're going to be going through the index. We want to print out every single value in the shopping list array, right? So we can use I is less than shopping list dot length. Shopping list dot length is going to return 4 because there are 4 items in the shopping list array. So if we do I is less than shopping list dot length, and then we print out each value in shopping list using I as the index, we're going to keep on going until the 3rd index, and the 3rd index represents the last value. And 3, if we're going until the third index, then I will equal 3. And is 3 less than 4? Yes. As soon as it hits 4, it's going to break, meaning we're not going to do shopping list 4. If we did shopping list, if we're looking for the index of 4 in the shopping list, right, it's going to return an error. But since we're doing I is less than shopping list dot length instead of I is less than shopping list dot length, or I is less than or equal to shopping list dot length, we're not going to return an error. So as you can see, the for loop is basically going from I, which represents 0, and then since I is representing 0, it's going to point to the 0th index in the shopping list array, and that's holding the string kale. Shopping list 1 is holding carrots, so it's going to print carrots. Then shopping list at the index of 2, remember this holds I, and since we're incrementing, it's going to go through the entire array. It's going to hold celery, and then shopping list 3 is holding broccoli, and we're going to print, and that's going to be the output of these lines of code. Now we can traverse through an array using a for loop, or we can use a for each loop. Both work pretty nicely. A for each loop is a bit weirder. It looks foreign, but it's quite easy once you get the hang of it. A for each loop, basically, you have to write the data type that you're trying to print. So the data type of the array. So in this case, we're trying to print the shopping list array. So it's going to hold string. It's going to hold the data type. We're going to write the data type string. Then we can write print. We can write x. We can write element op. We can write anything over here, right? And then we have to write these two columns. Then the array that we're trying to print. Sorry, my bad. And then we're going to print the value that we wrote here. So if we did for string x column shopping list system.out.println x, it's going to go through the shopping list bit by bit. This is quite easy since the compiler knows what it's doing, and you don't have to go through the trouble of understanding if you should do less than or equal to or greater than or equal to like you do here. So generally, more advanced programmers prefer for each loops for traversing through an array. And the output of using a for each loop will be kale, carrots, celery, broccoli, just like just like using a for loop. No difference. So let's do an example of using a for each loop. So we have integer number is equal to we're going to have an array of integers. The array is going to be called number, right? It's going to hold the values 100, 50, 200, 200, 100, and 400. Now, you notice that there's an X here and there's a check mark here. That's because when we do for integer num, column num, the compiler is not going to know which num you're pointing towards. The num that you're trying to print in the for each loop or the array num. It's going to say num has already been declared. So you always want to have different values for what you're trying to print in the for each loop. This and this should always be different than this, or in this case, this should be different than this and this. So once you print this using int x column num bracket system.out.println x curved bracket. Once you write this line of code, it's going to print 150, 200, 200, 100, 400, right? Remember that it doesn't order it like this unless you had print line. Since we didn't have print line, it's going to print everything on its own, right, like that, all without any spaces. So how to print the first value of an array? As you know, indexes in arrays start from 0. So in any array, no matter what the array holds or how long it is, the first value will always hold 0. So if you want to print the first value of an array, all you have to do is system.out.print, then the array that you're trying to access, bracket 0, closing bracket, parentheses, semicolon, and then you're going to print the first value of the array. So this is going to print kale. If you run this, it's going to print kale. How to print the middle value of an array? So this is a bit trickier because we have our shopping list array, and this holds kale, carrots, celery, and broccoli, right? But here's the thing. There are 4 values stored in the array. There's no middle. The middle would have to be here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There'd have to be an odd number of values in the array so you can have an array stored in the middle. See, when you do shopping list.length, it's going to return 4. This is, and that's not odd, so you can't have a middle value. So if we add eggplant, or we can add anything, but if we add one more value to the array of shopping list, we can have a middle value, and that middle value will be celery. So to actually print the middle value of the array, you should have an if statement. If this isn't an assignment, you should have an if statement saying, oh, if it's even, then just print no middle value even. And you can do that using the mod operator. Now you could also have if shopping list.length. So if the length of the array, which in this case is 5, if 5 mod 2 is not equal to 1, so 5 mod 2 is equal to 1 because it's the remainder, it's going, and that's not equal 1, so it's going to print whatever's in the if statement, and we're going to print this. Now this looks complicated, but trust me, it's not. We have the shopping list.length from here, right? And that returns 5, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Indexes start at 0. Remember that. 5 divided by 2. Remember, we're doing integer division. If we do 5 divided by 2, it's going to return an integer. If we do 5.0 divided by 2, that's going to return 2.5. But since we're doing an integer divided by an integer, it's going to return 2. If we do 6 divided by 3, it's going to return 2. If we do 7 divided by 3, it's going to return 2. If we did 10 divided by 2, 10 divided by 3, it's going to return 3. Not at 3 dot some random decimal, because we're doing integer division. 5 divided by 2 is going to return 2, right? Then, if we look at the index of 2 in the shopping list array, that's the middle value, celery, right? So all we have to do is find the index of shopping list dot length divided by 2, and you're going to get the middle value, right? So all we have to do is just, if the shopping list dot length is not odd, if it's not even, then we're going to print out this, and it's going to print out the index of shopping list dot length, so 5 divided by 2, that's going to be 2, so the index of shopping list at 2, and that's the middle value. So to print the middle value, all you have to do is do array bracket array divided by 2, and that's it. Now, how to print the last value of an array? Now, this is actually quite easy. It's easier than the middle value. All you have to understand is that since shopping list.length returns 4, if you did shopping list.length, you're going to do shopping list, you're going to find the index of 4 in the shopping list array. And that doesn't exist because the greatest index in this array is 3, because indexes start from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, right? 4 doesn't exist, so it's going to output an error. If we want to print the last value of any array, all you have to do is array bracket array dot length minus 1, because 4. So we're going to get the shopping list dot length. That's going to return 4. If we do 4 minus 1, that's going to equal 3. And what do you know? Index 3 exists as an index in the array. So all you have to do is system.outprint shopping list.length minus 1. Now remember, this array can be anything. It doesn't have to be shopping list. It can be it just has to be the name of the array that you're trying to print the last value for. And what do you know? When you do this, it's going to print broccoli, and that's the last value of the array. Now, this is going to be the last method for this video. Make sure to watch the part 2 that will come out soon. It's going to be going over how to do more advanced methods involving arrays. So, to print the sum of an array of ints, all you have to do is use a for loop to go through the entire array, and you want to add each value of the array to the sum value. So we're going to set the sum value as 0, because we're trying to find the sum of the array of ints. So we're going to set it as 0, and then we're going to use a for loop. So int I is equal to 0, I is less than numbers.length I plus plus. So here's what we're going to do. So when we do this, 0 plus numbers 0, right? Because I is equal to 0, I is going to be holding 0. So when we get the sum value, which is 0, plus numbers, so the index of 0 in the array of numbers, which holds 96, we're going to be doing 0 plus 96 is equal to sum. So sum will now equal 96. Now we're going to do 96 plus, well, let me back it up. then I will increment, right? So now I will equal 1. So now we're going to get the value of sum, right? 96 plus the index of 1 in the array numbers, 92, right? So 92 plus 96 will equal 188. Sum will hold 188 now. 188 plus numbers, the index of 2 in the index of numbers, which holds 79. 79 plus 188 is 267. Sum will now hold 267. 267 plus the index of 3 in the numbers array will now, which holds 99. So 99 plus 267 will now equal 366, right? Now, it's good to remember that numbers holds 5 values, 5 items, right? So this is going to print until the value of 4, because we're doing until I is less than numbers dot length, not 4 is less than or equal to numbers dot length. So this is going to be the last time we go through the for loop. So now numbers, we're going to find the index of 4 in the numbers array. So which holds 93. 93 plus the current value of sum, which is 366. 366 plus 93 will now equal 459. And that's how you find the sum of an array of ints. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to check on the next video, which will be going over the other methods for arrays. And yeah, just keep your eyes peeled. Thank you for watching the video and have a great day.